Khamzat Chimaev is a dangerous man inside the octagon, and he's a dangerous man outside of the octagon. He's not someone that you would want to trifle with, okay? He's a bunch of Chechens. I see him all the time down at the Santos studios. They're very serious players. I also heard that the Chechen guys were running around Las Vegas looking for Sean Strickland, right? Wanting to bloody kill him. Okay, Sean might need to get some security. He's like, no, I don't care. I've got guns. Come to my house.
I can't be the only one in the fight game that roots for straight chaos, right? Whether it's in arena or at a press conference. I'm not necessarily talking about Monster Energy drinks flying through the air, but yeah, I mean, I want security to have to intervene. I want friction. I do believe that when there is heat or friction or bad blood on a matchup, it only heightens things. I remember the first time they locked the door behind Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you know. But yes, I have also said about Khamzat Chimaev, he's the most electrifying force in the game. So when you shut the octagon door behind him and anybody else, oftentimes chaos ensues. Boys, caution flammable come May 9th. Newark, New Jersey is 1 hour from my front door. I might fucking leave today.
As a promoter on the promotional side, I would do everything I could to keep these guys away from one another, and especially keep their camps away from one another, because that's something people forget. These guys never roll by themselves, to Sean Strickland's point. This guy's going to have a lot of people with him, and a lot of times the fighter understands that a fight needs to happen and we can't jeopardize that. The people around them often do not. Don't get that, hey, if you throw a punch, this isn't a place where someone can cover that up. We are all going to jail, and that sucks, and there's no fight.
Like, you know, Sean's going to say some crazy, wild stuff, and then he's going to leave it at that, and he's going to wait for the fight. But you just don't know what Chimaev and his people might do if they're, like, truly offended.
Right.
Or what he might say or do if they're truly offended. You can't trust what he's going to do. Right, and or not even him. He might got some goons with him that just like, yo, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, we gonna show up to Jersey and we gonna do what we got to do because I don't care. Like, you don't know what these goons. Like, he might got some goons, man. So if I'm Sean, I'm gonna put on the show, but also too, I'm not gonna let it get too far.
I understand 100%, but like I do wonder. I'm not Muslim. If I was a Muslim fan listening to this and hearing him speak, he's calling them, you know, some crazy thing, and he's talking about like prayer towels and stuff, I would feel some sort of way. So is the biggest issue Khamzat, or is it someone coming up to Sean as well? Like, you're inciting a lot of harsh feelings in people by saying these things.
Because I think so many people out there would love to see Sean get beat up really badly. Like, they would maybe... It would probably pull in more sales. Why? Because you're going to have Sean Strickland mouthing off. You're going to have Chimaev retaliating. He's going to instigate Chimaev. Chimaev is going to react. Chimaev is going to get violent. Chimaev is going to... The press conference is going to start trouble. I mean, it's going to be such an entertaining pre-fight setup that I think Sean may jump the line.
Nowhere else in the sporting world do you hear headlines like this, by the way. Nowhere else. You're not hearing anything like this in the NBA or the NFL. Sean Strickland says he'll shoot Khamzat Chimaev if he tries to jump him.
Yeah, it's a little strong. I gotta tell you, it's a little strong. And you wanna know why? You wanna know why it takes the playfulness out of it? Because we know that Sean carries a gun. And we also know that Chimaev is known to travel in a pack. And we also know that Sean loves to build and promote a fight, and Chimaev isn't afraid to do his end of it. Like, my point is, this coming together is more likely to happen than not to happen.
The idea that, like, you are going to spend all your life training as a fighter and then you're going to show up with a gun a few days before the fight and shoot the guy. Well, first of all, you don't get paid then. That's the thing you can guarantee. The other thing is that then you go to prison instead of getting paid to hurt him in a sanctioned fashion. It's just dumb. It's dumb, and like it, especially at a time when like one of our big problems in America is gun violence, and you have a guy out here being like, I'm so mad I'm going to shoot him, and people are expected to like sit around and be like, awesome, that's a great headline, let's go with that.
Bro, he didn't shoot any chickens in the world, bro. How are we gonna shoot a human? No, I don't know. I don't think so. The guy wants a real war outside of the cage, so if he wanted, he would be dead already. Bro, in New Jersey, this is Muslim community, it's my home, so I don't think so he's gonna come out with the guns there. Otherwise, will be a lot of people in jail because he's dead.
Of the sense, like, we've seen things kind of escalate in the past where it's like you start dragging in religion, you start dragging in, you know, national stuff where your families, you start dragging that stuff in, that can play a man's emotions. Even as calm as Chimaev looked in that piece of video, Habib always looked pretty calm too, up until the moment he like talon swooped Dylan Danis off the cage. You know, and I'm like, those type of things kind of fester in a guy. And I just, your whole thing now is, and maybe this is a stroke of brilliance on some level for the voyeurs who love to see the sport from a certain angle. What happens during their encounters during fight week? I mean, that does to me seem like part of the drama of this whole build-up.
You're talking about the way you build a fight, this being the way you build a fight, this being how you build the most successful fights in UFC history, is by crossing these lines, is by going to this extreme, is by making you believe, whether it's true or not, and in the cases that you mentioned, I do believe it was true, whether these guys hate each other, and if they saw each other on the street, that they would rip each other's fucking heads off, or if they saw each other on the street, that Sean Strickland would be compelled to even pull out a firearm. It's unfortunate that this is how our brains work, but I must admit that it works. I am more interested in this fight the more that they escalate the stakes.
So you guys, I generally don't post my location or my whereabouts. I don't really drop pins where I'm at. I just don't like to. But I was on Instagram, some stupid shit popped up in my feed about like Chimaev saying he tried to fight me or kill me in the streets. Dude, I was like 10 minutes from your gym. I was dropping tags and locations all day on my Instagram. Your homies that train with you, follow me, they were seeing my story. You had to know where I was at. 10 minutes from your gym, bro. I was probably right down the street from you.
The UFC has definitely been caught with their pants down, not having enough security, famously, right? Between Jones and DC. I mean, it's not like they've got a perfect record. But at the same time, when incidents like this happen, they tend to be pretty good about getting out in front of it the next time, with, you know, obviously some exception. I would imagine that they've got an ample amount of security, not merely on fight night or press conference day or whatever the case may be. I'm assuming that they're not even staying at the same hotel, for example. Like, it can't possibly.
I know Dana White was saying, like, you know, I don't want to see these guys do a face-off. They're going to stay at separate hotels, all that stuff. Look, they might just be feeding fuel to the fire. Where, like, okay, like, when these guys actually see each other face to face, all that tension is brewing up. I could see Sean Strickland again saying some wild shit and Khamzat being like, okay, now for generations, this is war.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm excited for the presser and for the face-off if it actually happens. They'll probably just not even let them close near each other, but we'll see.
That's going to be a mental one, right? Because they are talking a ton of shit. And let me tell you, Strickland won't back down. Just because he's there with a bunch of Chechens, just because apparently the Chechens are looking for him, Strickland doesn't care. He's not going to be intimidated, right? He's going to have a gun on him. He's not going to give a shit.
Some people don't play.
Right.
So, like, you're doing this thing where you feel like, and like what we heard Connor say on kind of the hot mic moment during the fight, where he's just like, oh, you know, I'm just selling the fight, mate. Like, it's just all for like promotion and everything. And Habib is elbowing him in the face and being like, you want to talk? Let's talk now. And there was a reminder that, you know, you're out here, you're kind of seeing this as like, this is part of my characters, as part of what I do. Some people don't play that way, bro. And people who grew up in Chechnya might be some of those people. They have been in some situations that you haven't been in. They have seen things that you haven't seen.
You know, my concern about that fight would be whether they would actually make it to fight night, because I could see these guys literally trying to kill each other. If they saw each other, it's going to be on site, as the kids say, right? I mean, like, can they even do a weigh-in? Wouldn't they have to have like 5 guys between them? You know, it would be an amazing lead up, right? It would be a massive fight because of that. They obviously have a history of training together. They've already been trading barbs, back and forth. So yeah, I think it would be massive. I just hope they wouldn't fight before and something get canceled.
There's potential for there to be a big mess for sure. Ariel's right about that, and I don't think that they're faking everything. I just think that they're talking crazy because they want to make sure don't test me.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what's been put out. Don't test me because I'll do it. And we're like, okay, we're gonna listen. Bring the security out.
It's two interesting characters, and I think part of the reason is the UFC. They're like, if we put Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland in the same room together, there's possible chaos. And so we have to control this. Sean Strickland is already a guy that the UFC kind of has that mute button ready for at all times, right? Khamzat Chimaev, you don't know. You say something wrong, you bump into him. He's the guy that will genuinely try to put you in your place physically. Sean Strickland's the guy that doesn't back down either. And he's notorious for finding something that triggers you. I think it would be an epic press conference. I'd love to see more build up in this.
If you're letting me bet on will it get wild, I will take the yes on that. If you're giving me even money, I think that it's going to get wild in some capacity. At some point during fight week, someone's going to have a headache. But yeah, Newark is going to be an interesting venue for this fight. And like you said, I think the press conference could draw a lot of people based on the kind of theatrics that I think we'll see.
But this might be the first time they're going to have to search the fighters before they let them at the weigh-ins. You know what I mean? Okay, before you go up on stage here to do the ceremonial weigh-in, Strickland, we're just going to have a little frisk around the waist, and just in case. You know what I mean? Just in case you try and pull a fast one up there.
And fair point. And when he's talking about Kadyrov to Khamzat's face, and Khamzat has to sit there and have a response to it, it's going to be a completely different situation than when it's just I'm sitting in a hotel room with a media outlet and talking about it. Look, we've seen Khamzat fly off the handle for less. I don't know. Maybe this is the softer side of Khamzat. Maybe we're witnessing, Khamzat kind of in a different mindset, thinking about his family and not necessarily like getting into that. But Sean Strickland is trying to press the buttons that would get a response, and if they are face to face, I do feel like pressing of those buttons is going to be more successful than not.